Happy Purim! So I wanted to talk about a really cool connection between the Torah and Purim. This is part my Devar Torah and part Rabbi Ari Kahn, who is my rabbi who inspired me on this topic. So my bat mitzvah parsha, Ki Tavo, is very interesting. It is all about the first fruits that were supposed to be given to the temple that we would actually do on the holiday of Shavuot, the giving of the Torah. And at the same time, there's two other aspects of that parsha that make it really special and connected to Purim. One, it is the parsha that has the word simcha, joy, listed more times than any other place in the Torah. Not only that, we're literally commanded to serve God with joy. Now, as you know, Purim is the holiday of joy. Adar, that we're in right now, is the month of joy. So there's definitely a connection. And three, it's the parsha that has these laws called the Tochacha, which basically is happens twice in the Torah, where we're rebuked if we do not follow God in certain ways. He's basically going to punish us. So it's a very interesting parsha. I'm partial to it because it's my bat mitzvah parsha, but it's also very deep and symbolic of something much bigger. Now, I love to paint plates. I wish I had my plates here, but I'm not home right now. So I'm going to show you on my little iPad a plate that I painted based on parsha Ki Tavo. And on it, I put the commandment to be joyous. So it says in Ki Tavo, and you shall rejoice in every good thing which the Lord your God has given to you. So again, we've got this commandment that we have to serve God with joy. So strange, right? Like, there's no other time in the Torah that we're commanded to serve him with that level of joy. And then here comes the Tochacha, and I put this at the bottom. If you do not serve God with joy, so because you serve not the Lord your God with joyfulness and gladness of the heart for the abundance of all things, basically, if you don't serve God with joy and a gladness of heart, when you had an abundance, when everything was good, when you were given everything you needed, bad things will happen to you. And so I put a piece of the curse written in the middle of this plate. And it says it will happen. That's a key word, happen, that as Hashem rejoiced over you to benefit you and to multiply you, so will God bring joy to others over you, to remove you and destroy you, and you will be uprooted from the land that you are coming to inherit. And God will scatter you among the people from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Okay. Pretty dark and gloomy curse. Now, these words, I know I'm doing the English. It's hard to do the Hebrew, especially because you can't see the real plate in person. But when it says the word happen is a key word for Amalek, right? They happened upon us. It means that things just happen by chance, which of course we don't believe, right? We don't believe that things just happen by chance. Just like in the Purim story, we don't believe that we can just, pick something out of a hat and there's a lottery to annihilate us. It's a play on words on Purim that, of course we believe that everything happens for a reason, and this is not the case. But basically, God is saying when you have everything you want and you still you're not appreciative and you don't celebrate how good life is, I'm going to, by chance, give the joy that I gave to you because you didn't serve me with joy to your enemies, and they are going to destroy you, and they are going to you're going to be scattered, and it's like a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. Now, when I made this plate, I painted those three key parts, and in the middle, I made a basket, which is a little bit hard to see, because I wanted to signify the first fruits that we bring to the temple that was part of that parsha. Because the first fruits were very, very significant and connected to joy. And I'll get back to that soon, but just keep this in mind. Now, I'm going to open up my second plate, which corresponds exactly to the Megillah. So basically, when the Jewish people went to the parties of Achashverosh and they partied, they didn't think about going back to rebuild the second temple, they weren't mourning for the second temple, that's when Haman came into the picture. Now don't forget, Haman comes from Amalek, which believes everything happens by chance. So this was the plea up here that Haman gave to Achashverosh to convince the king to annihilate all the Jews. Then Haman said to King Achashverosh, "There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed amongst the people in all the provinces of your realm. If it pleases the king, let it be recorded that they be destroyed." The same words. The Jewish people at this time were scattered. They weren't united. They were just like, okay, we're in exile. We're just going to make the best of it. And we're going to live up our life in Shushan. And we're going to be happy here. And we're not going to try and unite to go back to Jerusalem to build the second temple. This is, post the destruction. So God's literally, Haman's making a plea that because we're scattered, which is what happened to us, and we're not united, you got to destroy these people. That's literally the tochacha, the curse coming together. Now, this one is from Rabbi Khan, and it's fascinating, but the only person in the entire Torah to be besimcha, to have joy, is Haman. And here's a sentence, and this is basically when Haman had just come back from the first banquet that Esther threw, and he was so happy because he felt like, wow, Esther wanted me at this banquet and the king wanted me there, and he just couldn't get over how perfect his life was. It says that day Haman went out besimcha, with joyful and with a gladness of heart. But when Haman noticed Mordecai in the king's gate and that he neither stood up nor stirred before him, Haman was full of indignation against Mordecai. Okay, so Haman had everything in the world. He was the richest person. He was second in command to the king. Now the queen's inviting him to this. He's about to destroy all the Jews a year from now. He has everything in the world. And yet, because one person would not bow down to him, it was as if he had nothing. He had zero appreciation. He literally acted exactly the way that God warned the Jewish people. If you don't serve me with joy and with a gladness of heart, bad things are going to happen. Haman could have carried out this plan. He really could have, but he couldn't follow through. And in life, how many times do we have everything, but because we can't have one thing, we let it destroy us, right? If I can only marry this person, if I could only have this job, if I could only have this much money, if I could only buy this thing, we become so jealous and so unhappy that we forget what we have. That was the moment everything flipped on Haman. That literally he reached this high level, and then he let it go because one person wouldn't bow down. Now, of course, we know how the story ends, and I put a sentence in the middle of this basket, which is a Mishloach Manot, which is the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. LeYehudim hay ta'ora v'simcha v'sason v'yikar. It is the most powerful line in the Megillah, in my opinion, because simcha and sason are both joy, but my interpretation is simcha is when you feel joy on the inside, right? Haman had simcha, but sason is when you really let that joy seep in and it comes out in your body and the expression of how you feel. It's almost like you're so happy you just want to dance. You just want to sing. You just want to have a moment where you're your body's almost in overdrive because it can't handle how good things are. So the joy that Hashem gave to Haman, that Haman didn't appreciate, it came back to the Jewish people, but not just besimcha, but also with sason. Now, why did I paint these two plates with baskets? Because Purim's the holiday where we reaccepted the Torah, but not out of fear because God just saved us from Egypt and we've got a mountain over our heads. It was when God was hidden. It was truly out of love. And it was when the Jewish people fought to help each other and to unite. Esther gathered the Jewish people, and it's unity on the next level. And so where does, I always talk about the balance between the individual and the community. Why do we bring the Bikurim on the holiday when we commemorate the giving of the Torah, right? Like, why don't we go to a mountain and reenact Har Sinai, the giving of the Ten Commandments? Because real joy comes from realizing you have a purpose. And so when you farm and you have your crops grow, in that moment you could say, wow, I'm amazing. Like, I planted the seeds and I watered them and I watched them grow and I cultivated them for them to become this amazing product. But when we give the first fruits of our hard labor back to God, especially to commemorate the giving of the Torah, we're saying, God, we know we're a partner with you because we didn't create the water, we didn't create the sunlight, we didn't create the oxygen. You gave us the gift to create life, but at the same time, we're nothing without you. And what was the first sin? Was, taking the fruit that we weren't supposed to have, that was supposed to go back to God. So when we bring the Bikurim, we're basically saying, we know we're amazing, we know we have potential, but we also know we're partnering with something huge and amazing, right? That's why we bring the first fruits. On Purim, we're doing the exact same thing. On Purim, we're so full of joy and happiness, but we are taking it one step further. We're not just partnering with God, but the real goal is unity, that each person feels good about themselves, but then the next level of that is to give to others. So we give money to the poor, we give gift baskets, not the Bikurim baskets, but the Mishloach Manot baskets. Purim is about knowing who you are, but then realizing that our goal is to help each other. And when we create community and we look out for one another, that's the real purpose, and the sky is the limit. And that creates real joy. Simcha, that the individual feels important, that they feel good. Sason, we bring it back to one another. That's really the hidden miracle of Purim. And of course, Shavuot was when we commemorate the acceptance of the Torah, but Purim is also an acceptance of the Torah, but through true love. And that's why I appreciate and love this holiday so much, because it's all about us uniting. And even during COVID this year, to see people reaching out to one another is just next level joy and happiness. May our enemies never get the joy that we possess when we have so much to be grateful for in this world, because we do all have a lot. Be appreciative, be happy, and always look out for the person next to you. Happy Purim, Chag Sameach, and may you have a joyful year.